So it's now Wednesday the 19th of June at 20 past 2 in the afternoon. What a few days we've had. The last postcard we had with you, no sooner had we turned off the mics and wee porpoise popped up right beside the boat, and unfortunately we just literally turned the mics off, so you didn't get to hear the glee in our voices. So it was a beautiful day, sun shining. But in addition to the wee porpoises, there was also a minke whale just maybe 100 metres off the
it wasn't far away, just cruising on past. It kept surfacing.
It moved down the coast with us for about an hour and a half. So we were just telling you how wonderful the weather was and how we were shorts and t-shirts and how we were considering chopping an arm off a sleeve. Well, that was very short-lived, because next came the monsoon rains. Rain like you have never... Well, you probably have seen it, but it was bouncing down, and the waterproofs are well and truly tested. We carried on and we got to a little bay just north of Scarborough. And that's when the thunder and lightning started, so it was a case of dive into the cabin just to make sure that we weren't subject to a lightning strike. So no sooner we got in the cabin, stripped off all the wet clothes, and the ILS alarm started buzzing to say that there was a boat on a collision course with us. So we're like, great. But we had a wee look at it, and it was actually a friend from Scarborough Lifeboat coming out to visit us in their D-class boat. So that's now all the boats apart from a Tamar to visit. So if you want to be the first Tamar boat to visit, come on, keep an eye on our progress and come down and say hi. So we got dressed back into our waterproofs, went outside to speak to them for a bit, got even wetter, even soggier, and yeah, and that was it pretty much. We stayed on anchor until the turn of the tide. We got dressed back into our sopping wet waterproofs and rode on through the night in the pouring rain. So we carried on, and where did we get to after that?
That was... Oh, now, where did we get to? It's a very good question.
Filey. We got to Filey about 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah,
so we rode past Scarborough Head. That was late at night, and you could see the bright lights of Scarborough. It looks like the Las Vegas of Yorkshire. You know, it was really brightly lit, and carried on rowing. We rowed past Filey Brig and in towards Filey, and we dropped anchor there. Quite a sheltered anchorage there, and got up in the morning and
got chased.
Not quite chased, but we're
politely asked to move on.
There turns out the Mustoe National Skiff racing was taking place pretty much where we'd chosen to anchor. We didn't know that when we arrived, and not that it would have made any difference anyway. We needed to drop anchor, so we just explained to them that we're just about to leave, so they could carry on with their normal planned course that they had without us being in it. So I would just set off down the coast then.
Yeah, and it was actually a beautiful morning to set off, and
would a stunning row past Flamborough Head
until we got round to the south side.
Yeah, the north side was nice and sheltered.
Yeah, it was stunning on the north side because we came through the bird colonies, get this round the right way before we get a telling off from a certain lifeboat station again. We came past the north station where their lifeboat used to be situated. They've now moved it round to the south side of Flamborough Head. But pretty cool little coves. I wouldn't mind going back and having a wee look at them, and lots of activity going on, lots of people about, and
people waving at us from the cliff top, which is really cool. Yeah, but then touching base on social media.
Well, even better, they sent some photos, so we've got some nice photos, and I think that my favourite bit was the sleeping seals. I had no idea they slept so soundly.
So we were rowing along, and I saw two seals ahead of us just with their noses sticking up in there, and I thought they'll soon move, but no, they didn't move, and we were about a metre away from them. You know, the boat passing between them.
Past them,
and they got startled and took off, and it was it's just quite funny. They were sound asleep.
But then they start chasing us like angry seals. Well, I don't blame them, because if I'd been that sound asleep and somebody had rudely awoken me, I wouldn't be very happy about life.
Yeah, that was just off the end of Flamborough Head.
Yeah, they were
off
super.
The head itself, and I don't know, there must have been 20 or 30 seals
there was
swimming along, following us, and getting really close.
I think we'd hit them the morning after a big bash at somebody else's house, to be quite honest, because they were really cool though, because they were super inquisitive and coming right up to the boat, and obviously felt quite comfortable. They're diving under the oars, and there's not really an awful lot we could do to move out of their way, because they were coming to us, not the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they were really cool, and yeah, but anyone that knows me, seals are not actually I'm not the biggest fan of seals. They give me a bit of a fear, and I'm not gonna lie, he looked quite angry when he was staring me in the eyes. I have to say, you woke me up.
But they didn't eat us, so
No,
it's all good.
But then we got round to the south side, and we should have had another couple of hours good tide with us, but we didn't.
Tide turn. I think there was probably a back eddy or something there, because we were slogging our guts out and not really going anywhere, so we decided just to drop anchor off the south landing, where the lifeboat, Flamborough lifeboat, is currently based, and we just got a bit of rest there. It wasn't the best of conditions to be anchoring in. It was quite a sloppy sea state, but we got a bit of rest, waited for the tide, and then pushed on southwards.
Headed off at night, and it was a really, really dark night. It was cloud cover, and most nights we've had so far, there's been a bit of light from the moon and things, but this was it was a dark night. Even when you looked out to the horizon, the dark of the sea and the dark of the sky just merged into one, so it was actually really difficult to tell where the horizon was. But
we were poo pipe boy hopping. So there's all the sewage outfalls along the coast have got a yellow buoy on them, and flashing yellow light, so it was quite convenient in that it gave us something to reference on the horizon, and we were literally just buoy hopping, poo pipe to poo pipe, as we made our way along the coast. So not far offshore, just just out in the 5 metre contour, so we're fairly shallow water the most of the way, and just continued on down as far as Hornsea before we dropped anchor once again as the tide had turned, and got some rest, and then
we just kind of cherry picked our way down that coastline down to where there's 6 hours rowing, both up on the oars, with about 6 hours at anchor to eat, sleep, and passage planned for the next bit. And then Monday night we left Werthersea, south of Werthersea, and started our crossing across to Cromer. And initially it was absolutely brilliant. 2 hours on, 2 hours off, making super good progress. Really helpful guys at the VTS at Humber.
Yeah, really helpful. That bit of water down there is super busy. There's 3 vessel separation schemes merged into one, and it's just non-stop ships moving. And a little rowing boat probably isn't the best thing to interact with a big ship. So part of the VTS responsibilities is keeping people safe. So they certainly kept us safe. Really appreciate them. Safe routing us, slotting us in amongst the commercial ships, and one of the pilots was piloting a ship in that we skipped in behind, and he touched base with us on VHF, so we had a bit of a conversation there. So we've got a free bit of advertising out on the VHF radio about our website, so who knows if anybody else has caught onto that or not, that overheard the conversation. So but that was really useful, and it saved us a little bit of time as well, because I had initially planned to go further offshore to pass the worst of the traffic, but having chatted through what our intentions were with VTS Humber, they said they could get us through the precaution area, which is closer to the entrance to the estuary, and it was a much more direct route as well, so really appreciate them doing that. We skirted over the bombing range as well, which was closed out of hours, so we just made a beeline straight through. And for the best part, it's a really good row.
Yeah.
The wind started picking up, losing track of days now, so we're Wednesday, so Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening, and it was forecast. We knew it was coming, and it was nothing wild, but it was around about 15 knots of wind from the sort of northeast, and the sea state started building with that as well. So it was not the most helpful. If it was right behind us, it would have been fine. It was beam on for part of it. We were
fighting the tide as well, getting soaked wet. So just when we were, it seems to be the story of this journey, you're just starting to feel really good about a bit of passage, and then boom, it fucking gets, sorry, excuse my French, gets really difficult again. And those are moments where you just think, can we keep going? And just thinking, it gets a bit brutal, gets a bit scary, gets...
Last night,
thoughts of
this morning,
and things start going through your head again, and it's just...
It was brutal this early hours of this morning. So we'd been 2 on 2 off, 2 hours on 2 hours off, and I jumped back on the oars, and I think I was on for about an hour and a half, something like that, and I was just glancing at the chart plotter periodically, and I was realising that we're not going to make it round the corner here where Cromer is on the Norfolk coast. The tide's beating us, and if we try and go too far east, point further east, we're beam on to rough sea state by that point. There's some breaking waves coming in and stuff, so just wasn't really comfortable with that. As much as we tried, it wasn't for us. So Mhairi came back out of the cabin for her shift, and I stayed on the oars for a while, so we did best part of an hour, was it, when we were 2 up?
Yeah. I held station for another 2 hours, and then we just...
so we're just...
was enough.
We're not really making the progress that we'd hoped. I needed to get some rest. I was knackered by that point, so came into the cabin, took off the worst of my wet waterproofs and just got under the cover and zonked out for half an hour, 40 minutes, had a wee Scooby snack and came back out. Meanwhile, Mhairi's just slogging away in the oars. We're not really going anywhere, but more or less holding station. And we had a quick conversation. I thought, we've just got to drop anchor here, there's no other option. The beauty of it is we were in water that's fairly shallow, it was about 10-15 metres of depth, so it was fairly ideal in that respect, but the sea state was still moderate to rough, but we didn't really have much option. So the beauty of dropping the anchor is that the boat sits head to the elements, so we're fairly safe. It's just not very comfortable. So we got the anchor over the side. The intention was just to sit and get a little bit of rest as best we could and get going as soon as the tide turned. However,
guess what? That didn't go to plan, did it?
So tide turned and out on deck trying to recover the anchor, and the wind was still pretty fresh at this point, and there was just no chance. It was not coming up. Couldn't get the anchor up. Tried and tried. We don't have a winch on the boat. There's no capstan or anything like that. It's all manual. The boat's not that heavy, so it shouldn't be that big a task, but with the fresh wind and a fair bit of tide flowing by this point as well, even with Mhairi on the oars rowing, could not get the anchor aboard. So we fought with that for a while and just was getting tired again, so we decided let's just give it a bit of time. So we waited till a bit more favourable tide conditions. Could see the wind was due to drop at some point in the day as well, so we'd just got a wee bit more rest, and waited. And about 10:30 in the morning, could feel there was a bit of a change the way the boat was moving. So we knew the tide had slackened off a bit, so we managed to recover the anchor. Using that last little bit of the tide, we rowed for about an hour, 2 up, just to make a little bit of progress before things became untenable again, and I thought we'll just throw the anchor over it and get a little bit of rest, and we're aiming to set off again about 3:30 today, so what's that, in about just under an hour's time. And hopefully the anchor comes up this time. And yeah, we should, all being well, get around the corner and get past Cromer and just keep heading south then. There's a good bit of tide around about here, so we should get a good 5-6 hours worth of tide helping us, which will help make progress. The wind's slackened off a wee bit, so it's not going to be quite as brutal, thankfully. Hopefully not just jinxed it by saying that, because last night, this morning was just was dire, just utterly miserable. You had waves crashing over you. It was struggling to get the oars in the water because the boat's rolling, and it's a bit risky that you're going to injure yourself as well, you know, because everything's moving. Your oar on one side of the boat isn't doing what the oar on the other side of the boat's doing. You're twisting and writhing and trying to make progress and putting maximum effort into, because you know that we need to get there. And it's just soul destroying and debilitating when you look at the speed and you think, oh, okay, we're going backwards now. So, but today will be a different day. We'll get moving shortly and hopefully make some good progress.
We will make good progress. It's looking favourable for the next few days, and hopefully be able to catch up with you again soon.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the long ramble. It's been a long one. It's been a few days though, so I think we're due a long chat.